I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. I first off want to wish you all a happy new year. Happy 2021. I know we're all tired of 2020, but there's been a lot of growth and introspection if you choose to see it that way. And I know it's been hard regardless. So anyway, I wish you many blessings and much love for 2021. So I've been talking to my friend Jennifer again, and, she asked me maybe today we could do the topic on, people pleasing, and why do we keep offering ourselves up to people who don't offer anything back? Why do we keep chasing people? In other words, I think is that sometimes we just keep giving and giving and giving and hoping and hoping and hoping that somebody's going to appreciate us and respect us in return, and that's not what happens at all. In fact, we end up more disappointed and more disappointed. So if you like that's our topic today, please hit the like and subscribe button below. So what this boils down to is a healing, and it's about being gentle with ourselves and being gentle with others. So I'm going to read you on Tuesdays, as I've told you before, I offer up Topic Tuesday on my Facebook page. And if you'd like to, follow me on Facebook or friend me on Facebook, it's Stacy Renee. So on my topic for Tuesday, which I had already talked to Jennifer before this, I'd posted a quote. And on that quote, it says, just a sec. The quote says, "We can say what we need to say. We can gently but assertively speak our mind. We do not need to be judgmental, tactless, blaming, or cruel when we speak our thoughts." And this comes from Melody Beattie, she's like the queen of codependency. She cornered codependency, really nailed it down. And they use her literature in the Betty Ford Treatment Center, because oftentimes underneath addiction is codependency, and underneath codependency is grief, as I've said before, is what I learned from Melody Beattie and Dr. Drew. So there's been a lot of that this year, there really has. And we've gotten to, maybe if we didn't know what it was before, and we've gotten to really feel these feelings intensely. The thing is that when we're giving and giving to people, and, they're not giving back, and we know, before we give, but we just keep hoping that someday what is happening subconsciously is that we're trying to heal ourselves through healing other people, or trying to heal other people. So the good news is that you want to heal other people and you don't want them to feel as bad as you. The bad news is that you can't do that, because you first have to heal yourself to be able to help other people heal. And to be able to do that, you have to know the difference between boundaries and discipline. Because what happens is oftentimes when we don't get the appreciation and respect that we want, we tend to give people the business. And if we don't give them the business, then we give ourselves the business. So this is about setting boundaries not only with others, but with yourself, because typically what happens when this happens is that people tend to self-sabotage, because they get into self-pity and self-loathing and self-hate, because once again, they're disappointed. And what we learned under disappointment is that there's an expectation. The expectation is they want this love and appreciation, but they have to first have it within themselves to be able to gauge why they're trying to do this for somebody else. See, society has people thinking that you heal from the outside in, that, it's what happens is that the pain, and the how disappointing it is when somebody asks, when you've been let down. See, this is the thing, is you know the pain of being let down. So you don't want to let another person down. So oftentimes we people please and overcommit because we don't want people to feel let down. We want to feel like we can help them. But the problem is that if we haven't helped ourselves, all we do is self-sabotage, because we keep committing, and we're overcommitted. And then when we mess up a commitment, then we feel bad and we feel shame and we feel guilt. And then when we aren't appreciated for doing these things, and it just leads to this vicious cycle of drama and chaos and self-loathing and self-sabotaging, because usually what happens is when people feel bad, oftentimes in these and internalize in all these feelings, it's kind of that self-hate will cause people to eat too much, Because that's the tool that they'll use. They look for something outside of themselves to give them comfort, right? So they eat too much, they drink too much, they think too much, they, do all of this. And so they're just distracting themselves from the problem rather than healing from the problem. So then they, soothe themselves that way, which makes them feel worse. So then they do it again and they do it again. And because it's just all called up for their right and proper healing. But until we realize that it's called for your healing, we tend to want to get mad and label and call people names and all of this. And it just really isn't serving us, and it's not serving them either, because really we end up harming ourselves, and they don't have one to give, right? I mean, you hurt yourself more than you hurt them. So in doing the step work or working with people on codependency and these issues, I remind them that, you can't hurt another person without hurting yourself, so that's why this discipline part isn't working. But in all fairness to you and your parents, I know for me, when I was born, they only had one book, this Dr. Spock's baby book, that my parents had for any kind of directions or instructions as far as raising kids, and our parents tried to protect us, and they tried to discipline us to protect us. The thing is with that, we didn't really learn cause and effect so much, you learned that if you did wrong, you were going to get your butt busted, or something like this. Then when we get grown and we think we're under this illusion that because we've had this discipline as a child that we're going to grow up and that everything's going to be fine and that we're not going to suffer, we're not going to struggle, and blah, 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 blah. But on life's terms, it has said, and no matter which kind of faith that you follow, there will be suffering. And that suffering is our own doing in part. Now, not everything is, because when we're children, we can't help these things. But here's the kicker, is what I've noticed is that oftentimes, and like I say, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor of any sorts, but in working with people, is that what happens is that things come up as a projection. It's like sometimes it seems like things change, but they stay the same. So it comes up as a projector, because if one generation doesn't heal from it, it seems to show up in another generation, right? Have you all noticed this? So what happens is that, say if you had a bad relationship with your mom, you may even have a bad relationship with your daughter. People, they tend to, in cause and effect, there's adhesion and repulsion. There's, and all this, you're attracting back and forth. And so this is the middle way, is the healing way, where we get to have no judgment of either or. Because as human beings put down here on this earth, what do we think we were put down here for? If we were meant to live the perfect life always, we wouldn't even come down here from heaven, So it's like these things are supposed to be challenges that we get to overcome, because we are the writer, director, and the actor in our own stories, once we get to be grown. So we get to learn how to process this in a different way, or else we get into this insane part of feeling the same thing. See, so what we learn is that, oftentimes in our addiction, we learn that we're powerless over chemicals, and then what we learn later in the codependency is that we're powerless over people, places, and things. So we can't heal them. They have to heal themselves, and they have to want it. And many people do not want it. Some people don't even have the capacity to understand that they have a problem. And we can fault them, we can call them names, we can label them with different disorders or behaviors, which it's good to know those disorders and behaviors and what they look like. However, the labels really don't serve any of us. It doesn't, our healing doesn't depend on their label. Our healing depends on us. You can do the repulsion thing to saying, oh, that's this type of person. I don't want to be around this type of person. And that's good. You have a right not to want to be around that type of person. But the thing is, until you heal from whatever it was that drew you and that person together, until you heal from that, the next person is liable to be like that too. That's why so many people are ending up with the same kind of relationships, as they didn't heal from that general relationship in the beginning, which oftentimes is apparent, like I'm saying. I noticed, during this holidays that men or women, oftentimes, it could be the men project some stuff onto their son from their own healing with their relationship with their dad. So if you had a bad relationship, say if I had a bad relationship with my mom, then I might have a bad relationship with my daughter. If I didn't heal from the things that were going on with me and my mom. And I'm sure that my daughter, she may have that kind of feeling with that. But, we all get to change the cycles and courses. And that's what we're intended to do, is we don't have to remain the same. But sometimes in our pain, we tend to remain the same and not even realize it. If our mom caused us pain, and mom, I'm not talking about you, or our dad caused us pain, and then it's like we may repeat it until we heal from it in later lives. Say, like, my dad was emotionally unavailable. So for a long time, I picked emotionally unavailable situations. The thing was it wasn't like, maybe I'm not going to pick an emotionally unavailable situation someday because I don't know, I don't choose to label anything. But what I did learn is that I can be okay within myself, even if I'm in emotionally unavailable situations. So say if you've chosen a narcissist, you can still be okay with a narcissist so long as you know your own worth and your own value, even though it may not be fun. So I'm just saying that we don't have to judge all of this, is that we really have to look within ourselves and find that empowerment inside ourselves, because no amount of people pleasing, no amount of, putting ourselves on the line time after time again and self-sabotaging is going to make another person appreciate us. It's just not, y'all. I'm just saying, it's just not. They don't care. And it's up to them to do their own healing work. You drew them to you so that you could learn to care more about yourself. If they're not caring enough for you, then you drew them to you so you could care about you, so that you could make a different decision and choice in this life. So it comes to that healing. So then again, we're going to look at discipline, because most of us don't know the difference between discipline and boundaries. I know I didn't. And so when I first started hearing this word boundaries, it meant like that I wanted to give somebody the business. That a boundary would be like saying, F you. A boundary would be like saying, don't talk to me again. But then what happens is that if we don't say what we mean and mean what we say, but do it with love, we don't have to be mean when we say it. One of my friends, Brenda, says we can say what we mean and mean what we say, but we don't have to be mean when we say it, And so if we do that with love, then that's just honoring ourselves and speaking our truth. I had another friend that, he had a comment. He's a really good, I really appreciate his support and everything on my post and videos and stuff. And he also said, about that post, David says, brutal honesty without compassion is cruelty. And that's true. That's very true. So a lot of times people think that setting a boundary is that, and that's not setting boundaries. That's discipline, because you're trying to see in codependence, what happens is they say you. And they project these bad feelings onto other people, their fears, because they're afraid that people may think, and they'll say like, oh, you may think I'm ignorant, or you may think this, or you may think, you think this, you think that. So they keep everything in the you did this, you did that, da-da-da-da. Healing comes when you can say, why did I do this? What was my intention and motivation of putting myself out there once again? And what is it that in me that I need to heal? And then when we get introspective is when the healing comes. And then that gives us a whole different energy and consciousness, because oftentimes we have to look for a higher power, so to speak, to find this introspection. We have to go seek something higher than ourselves, and I'm not saying through drugs or anything else, obviously, but I'm saying that we have to be willing to feel the pain and the hurt of what caused the pain and the hurt, rather than to keep projecting the pain and the hurt. Does that make sense? So if we have fear of abandonment, we tend to abandon people before they can abandon us. If we have fear of rejection, we tend to reject people, and we don't even know it, because we'll project that they're rejecting us, but we'll reject them first. I've seen this happen. I've experienced it myself, and so but if we're not introspective, we will swear that this person was rejecting us, but it would be us rejecting them. We'll swear that they abandoned us, but it's us abandoning them. So this is what I mean. This is what projection plays out like. So it's all about healing ourselves from the inside out rather than the outside in. So when we look at what discipline means, discipline is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior used in punishment to correct disobedience. See, this is the thing, is people that have a lot of pain create a lot of rules. There's a lot of rules. They'll say the narcissists have rules. People will have rules when they're trying, and all these people are coming from pain. I'm not saying this to judge them. I'm saying that this is their pain, is that they create these things for their comfort because they're more comfortable with these rules so that they don't get hurt. So, but in boundaries, what we do is it's a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line. So it's like, this is what I'm willing to accept, and then when we say this is what I'm willing to accept, we say what we mean and mean what we say, but we say it with love, it's like, well, this is what I can do. Then if somebody does or does not do it, then, say, I'm going to use the instance of lending somebody money. Well, this is what I can lend you, and I need you to pay me back within this amount of time. Well, if they don't pay you back, then it makes no sense to lend them money again, and then when they ask you again, say, you know what, I really can't afford it this time, because you know that this person isn't going to pay you back. You don't have to say, you can say, well, you didn't pay me back last time, so I really don't feel comfortable lending you the money. Now, that's one thing you can say if you want to say it. But to say, no, and to shame them because they didn't pay you back. First off, we should never lend money that we can't afford to lose, But secondly, is that when we have an agreement, if somebody doesn't honor that agreement, then we can't feel like a victim. It's like, okay, they didn't honor that agreement, so I just know now that I can't lend this person money. Or if they don't honor the agreement, I know now I can't do this, It's always okay to ask, did you forget, or is there a problem, But the thing is that a lot of people, the thing that comes with the difference between boundaries and discipline is that boundaries require confidence. You're confident enough to ask somebody, is there a problem or what have you? And then with discipline, people tend to just react, right? Because when we were kids and we got those spankings, it was a reaction to our, doing something dangerous or something that could harm ourselves or something that got on our parents' nerves or what have you. People got spankings for different reasons. But then we get in the adult world, we're not going to get a spanking anymore. It's cause and effect. And that's the really cool thing, because even if you look at boundaries and discipline now on YouTube, it's about with children for the most part. So people are learning to do that with children. And, even for me, I got to have the book Love and Logic, or the CDs Love and Logic, so I could listen to those in the car and I could give my kids consequences. I didn't have to spank them every time they got on my nerves or pissed me off. Sometimes I got to say, well, this is the thing, is I can't do this. If you're going to yell in the car, then I can't drive the car to where you want to go. Sorry. So then they would learn, oh, she ain't going to drive the car if I yell. Stuff like that, or, I could teach them how to problem solve. That's the problem with discipline, is that people aren't learning how to problem solve. However, when we get to be adults and we're to start disciplining other adults, we're not problem solving because we're just disciplining, and other people don't have a clue. So like I've said before, we instead hurt ourselves instead of others, because usually what we do is we go inward and we start self-sabotaging because we have fear, and we have self-loathing, we have self-hate, all that self stuff. And then what happens is that oftentimes we look for comfort. We look for comfort in food. We look for comfort in drinks. We look for comfort in smoking. We look for comfort elsewhere, all outside of ourselves. But the real healing and the real answers are always within ourselves. So I'm oftentimes trying to get people to get back in their bodies, because when we feel pain, the only way to heal is to be in our body. It's not going to come through those other avenues that I just listed. It's not going to come through that person, because half the time you're angry at them and it seems like they don't even care. And that's the really painful part, right? Is you've put so much energy into this and then it seems like they don't even care. So we're going to do an exercise, when working with people. I work with people on the with steps of codependence, and of course, like I said, with that I don't charge. And I've been working with more and more people, on the steps of codependence, and also counseling with codependence, and working on getting that stuff off of their soul, because that's what I do. Is I'm not a therapist, but I work on helping people get the pain off of their souls so that their souls feels lighter and they can really fulfill their soul's desires, rather than, when you eat and overeat and overdrink and oversmoke, where's it all going? It's going into here. It's on top of all of that, whether it's surrounding and crowding your lungs, or whether it's surrounding and crowding your gut, or whether it's surrounding and crowding it. So that I think that your soul is right in there in your solar plex. And so all of that's getting stifled and shut down. Your communication is sucking. So first, it's about learning to communicate with ourselves. When we work the steps on codependence, we work 1 through 3, and that's the foundation. We understand that we are powerless over people, places, and things, that we have no power over those things, that none of our behavior on the outside is going to fix what's going on within, that we can only fix and repair ourselves. So then when we go through the middle part of the steps, or we go through the middle part of the work, then we start looking at those things within ourselves that made us feel less than, that made us feel like we keep subjecting ourselves to this thing over and over again. What do we need to do to heal so we no longer subject ourselves to this kind of behavior over and over? Because those persons are just catalysts. See, we may want to label them other names, and they may have those behaviors, but they're really just catalysts for us to get to learn and grow and know ourselves. So it's being able to look within. So I'm always appreciative when you all make recommendations for topics on videos so that we can address these certain things, because sometimes we just don't know that that's what we need to do, is look within, and maybe I can help you process it either through prayer, meditation. And today we're going to try something else. We're going to try tapping today, really touching and tapping into what it is underneath going on, because underneath all of this there's a deeper consciousness. You would not treat yourself or think about yourself the way that we sometimes do in our self-sabotaging and self-loathing and all of that, if we realized our own consciousness was connected to that divinity, that higher power that we seek, that higher power experiences and lives in and through us, through all those things that we put in our body, through all those things we put in our mind, through all those things that we bury on our soul. Our higher power is in there. Our higher power has all the right and divine answers to our problems. And that's what we were put here as humans to do, is be able to connect with that. It's not like you go somewhere and then you connect with it. No, you connect with that here, whatever your consciousness is, and it's your own personal relationship. Just like your relationships, my relationship with one person is going to be different than it is with another person. Same as my relationship with my higher power, different than all the relationships that I have, but I guarantee that my relationship with my higher power expresses in and through those relationships. So don't let me lose you. So if you don't have a relationship with a higher power, you don't know who that is, then you have a life force. That life force is what keeps you breathing at night, keeps your organs working, regardless of what all shit you put on top of your soul and everything else, or your connection to your life force. So when I'm working with people, some people have a relationship with a higher power, and through each time, that we work the steps or we work together on a different type of healing, then it enhances and strengthens that relationship with that higher power, with that consciousness that lives within us, that when we clear these things off of our soul, we're not as much self-sabotaging as we were. We're not going to put those things in our body, because we learn to respect that there's this consciousness living within us, and we love that consciousness. Once we learn to love ourselves, and that's the problem. That's the thing, is like, our parents did the best that they could, but some of them didn't love themselves, and so it was hard for them to maybe express the love to us, and so we internalize their lack of love or too much love. We internalize that, and so it will cause us to need to evolve. It causes us need to evolve. No one's going to get through this life without experiencing pain. We're just not. There's nobody who gets out of this life without experiencing pain. The pain is a great motivator, and it is what causes us to evolve. Maybe in a higher consciousness, maybe our kids will learn even quicker not to have to experience some of the pain, but most of us have had to experience pain on some level. All the spiritual principles or practices say that there's suffering. The greatest of them all, always suffered at some point in time, it seemed like, and we can learn so much from things of the past. It seems like it's all still divinely connected. So I'm going to teach you something today if you haven't done it before. And I don't do it like everybody else does it. And not everybody, I think, does it all the same. Is that, I asked my coach about it, and because she introduced it to me, and I'm not going to lie, y'all, I thought it was weird when we first started doing it, my fairy goddess mother, but I trust my fairy goddess mother, so I did it. And now I still share that with people, because some of the people that I work with have had a relationship with a higher power imposed on them that they kind of reject and go against a higher power thing. But we can all get with the life force, right? So it's up to them. One of the biggest compliments that I get is being able to help people find their higher power, whoever they perceive that to be. I've had people that I truly love and respect tell me, Stacy, through you, I learned to get my own relationship with a higher power. Because that's what I try to do, is I don't try to get people to follow my higher power. My higher power is kick ass, but my higher power lives in and through me, and you get to develop your relationship with your own higher power. But first off, we get to know ourselves, because our higher power is in ourselves, in our cells. I believe that our higher power is in our cells. That the word cells, CELL, and ourselves are closely linked together. They're a parcel of each other. So if our cells are unhealthy, we have to, try to correct some things going on within us, and we can't fix everything maybe, but we can certainly make our quality of life better. So I'm going to teach you this process of gauging through yourself when we're going through our self-hate and self-loathing. Rather than eating something or drinking something or smoking something, there are other things that we can do that are going to be for our better and right and divine healing until you develop your relationship. So it's developing that relationship with yourself that you can grow your relationship with your higher power. Once you get to do that, because that's your relationship. That's not some people will want you to have their relationship with their higher power. But like I said, a lot of people had that imposed on them and weren't allowed that freedom. But this is an unlimited universe. Some people call the universe their higher power. Some people call energy their higher power. We're going to say consciousness, because there's a consciousness that's humane. See, that has to deal with boundaries and not discipline. The consciousness that's humane is mature and realizes that, like when my daughter has stood up to me and done some of the same things that I did when I was a teenager, that I got to react differently than my father did. And that's breaking a cycle. That's healing. That's healing the future generations, because she's not going to even be tempted to do the things that I did, to justify that behavior was okay. That's, I think, what happens is when people are not conscious, it's unfortunate that sometimes they repeat that same behavior that harmed them, as children. And until they heal that behavior, they don't know how to break that cycle. And first it's about becoming aware of it and conscious, rather than going from the subconscious, which tends to be reactive rather than thoughtful. So our consciousness is thought-filled. That's our creativity and our good design. So we're going to talk about tapping right now, so that we can hurry and finish this up and I won't boggle your mind anymore. So, some people say that I take them down the rabbit hole, but this is cool. So this is a way that if you're learning and developing and growing a relationship with a higher power, or just with learning and growing, knowing yourself, and not wanting to eat and not wanting to drink and self-sabotage, then you can do this type of practice. Now, you can use your own words, and it's been so cool that I've gotten to do this with some people, and in fun, they do use their own words, and I really love it, because really it's designed for you to develop your relationship with yourself and your higher power. But I'm going to do it with you to kind of give you an example this time, and then you can watch more videos on it if you're more interested in tapping. You can watch more videos, and different people have different styles. This is how I like to do it, though, and I'm going to try to get you through it as fast as I can, but as thorough as I can, okay? All right, here we go. So what I do is I'll tap and say something, and then you are tapping and repeating at the same time, okay, what I say. So it's like, oh, I wish I didn't people please. I really feel like shit when I people please and they don't respond back. I feel used when I people please and they don't respond back. But that's just my feelings. I'm entitled to my feelings. And they are entitled not to respond back. I'm understanding that the healing has to come from within me. I've always known when I put that energy into myself that I would receive back so much more. Even though I have self-pity and self-loathing when I do this, I accept myself. I can respect myself. I know that I'm worth putting this healing effort into me. Because that is really where the satisfaction will be. I don't have to be angry at them to heal myself. I don't have to be angry at me to heal myself. It's okay to be sad about this. It's okay to be sad about this. Because it hurts. It hurts a lot. I know that I have felt this way before. And I don't like the way it feels. I can get help and process this. Because I don't have to kill myself. I have breath in me. And as long as I have breath in me, I have hope in me. I want to live. I want to love. I wouldn't do this stuff if I didn't want to love. I want to learn. And I want to be healthy. I was designed to be healthy. I will be happier when I'm healthy. And I have what it takes to be healthy. So I hope that this has been helpful, that you follow it through. But like I said, there's other people that have tapping videos on here. Just like, if you are raising children, you can find the videos on the difference between discipline and boundaries. But also you can follow these things yourself and understand this yourself, and give yourself a break that we learned discipline growing up. We didn't learn boundaries. That learning boundaries feels uncomfortable and it doesn't feel normal because that wasn't normal for us. But we can learn how to do it, and we are so worthy and valuable. We wouldn't have these breath in our lungs. We wouldn't be connected, to each other and the availability to learn this stuff if it weren't something that we could do. You wouldn't even be watching this far in and seeing me tapping if it wasn't something that you can do. Trust me, I've changed. We are all capable of changing. This life doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to always go like this. And it doesn't have to be hard to make these changes. Although it's not always going to feel comfortable, we can make it more fun. So again, if you need a life coach, that's what I do. I'm Stacy Reinick I'm Stacy at stacyforlife.com. I'm sorry, stacyforlife.com. And on that's my webpage, and you can find a description of the services that I provide as a life coach. I deal with addiction, codependency, and grief. Most all of us have dealt with somebody or something like that in our lifetime. But I don't just deal with that, not exclusively, because underneath that is a desire for healing and healthy relationships, as well as development of spiritual and soul consciousness. Developing that own relationship with yourselves to expand out into others so that you get the love and respect that you want and need and deserve. So if you or anyone you know needs help there, then please look me up at stacyforlife.com. And again, I offer to help y'all for free for 30 minutes. I give you 30 minutes of my time to help you compartmentalize and process so that you can organize and your thoughts and decorate your own perspectives so that you can get a clearer, better picture of how you want 2021 to look for you. So again, feel free to email me at stacyreinig@gmail.com. Sometimes when I try to think all that together, it ends up, so that's where that was. But email me at stacyreinig@gmail.com if you would like to enter a topic Tuesday, if you would like help processing something and you need to schedule an appointment. Like I said, I won't charge you for my time, but my time is valuable. So, you do have to make an appointment to have my time. But I'm not going to charge you for the 30 minutes of talking this through. I'm just not, because I want you to do well. I want me to do well. I want us all to do well in 2021. I'm just trying to raise the vibe of this universe. So again, I hope that you have a happy, happy new year. I wish you much love and peace, and I look forward to seeing you again next year. Before I leave, I just thought of something. In this people-pleasing thing, the last thing I'm going to say about this is Lisa Nichols says, or actually her grandmama says, that if you want your yeses to mean, if you want your yeses to have power, you have to learn to express your no's. If you want your yes to have power, you have to learn to say no. Okay? Your yeses have no power if you don't say no sometimes. So honor yourself and honor others by not being twisted, because when we overextend ourselves, we don't show up fully for anything. You deserve to show up fully for yourself, and you deserve to show up fully for others. So remember, self-care is important. Maybe next video will be on self-care. But again, remember, always reach out to me. Stacy Renee on Facebook or Twitter, or Stacy Renee 8 on Instagram, and stacyreinig@gmail.com. And I'm Stacy Renee even on LinkedIn. So I hope to connect with you more and more. And thank you so much. Once again, I value your time and respect your time. And I do appreciate if you stayed all the way till now. So thank you so much.